Let me start by saying I'm not crazy. I've gone through every possibility in my head. Sleep deprivation, stress, some kind of dissociative hallucination, but none of it makes sense. Not when I walk past it every day now, not when I hear what's behind it, and especially not when I open it. The house isn't old, it was built in 2007. I bought it 5 years ago during a particular low stretch in my life. Messy breakup, soul-crushing office job, the usual disintegration of everything you thought made you stable. I wanted peace, isolation, somewhere to start over. This house, tucked in a wooded cul-de-sac with one way in and no traffic through, gave me that. Clean lines, warm oak floors, 3 bedrooms and a finished basement. It didn't feel haunted, it felt neutral, which is exactly what I needed. I lived here quietly for years. I work remote, I don't throw parties, and I don't do drugs. Hell, I barely drink. Nothing changed until 3 weeks ago. It was a Wednesday when I first noticed the door. I was walking down the hallway between my bedroom and the spare office room, the one I barely ever use, when I saw it. On the right hand wall, a perfectly normal looking white interior door. Same style as the others in my house. Only problem, that door wasn't there the day before. I stopped dead in my tracks, genuinely confused. I stared at it for a solid 30 seconds, waiting for my brain to click into place. Like, maybe I just hadn't noticed it before. Maybe there was a closet there I'd forgotten about. But I knew this hallway. This was the shortest hallway in the house. Just 2 rooms, one wall with an old painting from a flea market, and nothing else. Well, until now. I even reached out and touched the door. It was real. The wood was smooth, slightly cool, and the brass knob was perfectly polished, unnaturally so. Like it had never been touched by a human's hand. No scuffs, no fingerprints, no dust. I didn't open it that day. I just stood there, staring, then slowly backed away and went back to my desk. I told myself I was overworked, tired, maybe I'd had a micro stroke or something. I opened the spreadsheet and just tried to forget about it, but that door stayed. By the second day, something about it began to shift. Every time I passed it, I got this pressure in my head. Not quite pain, just a strange awareness, like I was being watched or weighed, like the space around it warped in a way I couldn't measure but deeply felt. I tapped on the door lightly with my knuckles. It made a hollow sound, but deeper than it should have, like knocking on an empty tunnel instead of a wall cavity. I even checked the blueprints of the house I'd saved on my laptop from the original inspection. That wall, it was a load-bearing wall. No rooms, no access. It was supposed to be solid. That's when I started to dream about it. I had a dream that I was standing in the hallway and the door slowly creaked open on its own. The room behind it was pitch black, but not in the way normal darkness works. This blackness felt alive. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear breathing, slow, raspy, deliberate, and something in the darkness whispered, "Come closer." I woke up in a cold sweat and found myself standing in the hallway, in real life, facing the door. I didn't sleep the next night, not really. I dozed on and off, my brain half alert the entire time, like an animal hiding from a predator, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw the door. In my dreams it was always slightly open, like it had something to show me and was just waiting for permission. By morning, I decided to open it. Not because I was brave, I wasn't, but because the not knowing was worse. Because a door that shouldn't exist is terrifying, but a door that shouldn't exist and might still open itself is worse. I waited until noon, broad daylight. Every light in the hallway turned on. I stood in front of it holding a flashlight in one hand and a kitchen knife in the other, like some idiot who thought sharp steel would stop, or whatever was on the other side. My heart was beating so hard I thought I might pass out. I slowly twisted the knob and the door opened. There was a hallway behind it. That's the first thing that threw me. Not a closet, not an empty wall cavity. A hallway, full-sized, perfectly lit, stretching on far longer than it physically should have been able to. It wasn't dusty, it wasn't cold, it didn't even feel supernatural at first. It just felt wrong. The walls were the same as mine, but the light fixtures were subtly different, a style I hadn't seen before. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something faintly sweet, like flowers that had been dead for just a little too long. I took a step inside. The floor was solid. Another step, then another. As soon as I crossed the threshold, I heard it. The click of the door shutting behind me. I spun around, but the hallway was still visible. The door hadn't closed, but something had changed. I turned back to look forward again, and the hallway was different. The walls had shifted subtly. They were now covered in faint patterns, almost like wallpaper stains and shapes of hands. Still, I walked. I don't know how long I was in there. I didn't bring my phone, but the longer I moved forward, the more the hallway began to resist me. The floor softened under my feet, as if the house didn't want me stepping further. The walls narrowed slightly with each passing step, not so I could see it with my eyes, but my shoulders started brushing them, and then scraping, and then I had to turn sideways. I was about to retreat when I saw it. A mirror. Just a full-length standing mirror framed in black wood, standing alone at the end of the hallway. I looked into it, and the reflection, it wasn't mine. It looked like me, but not. The figure in the mirror had my face, but his eyes were wide and glassy, mouth half open like he was screaming, and the hallway behind him wasn't mine. It was pure black, with fingers reaching out of the dark behind his shoulders. I blinked, and the mirror was gone. There was just a door, identical to the one I entered through, and it was now open. I ran, back through the narrowing hallway, slamming through the first door, out into my house, gasping like I surfaced from deep underwater. The door slammed shut behind me, but it was still there, and worse, the hallway behind it changed every time I opened it. I didn't open the door again for 3 days. I tried to pretend it wasn't there. I stayed out of that hallway. I slept in the living room with the TV on, like that static would somehow keep whatever was back there away. But the dreams got worse. It wasn't just breathing anymore, it was footsteps, whispers, the sound of something pacing behind the walls, as if it was stuck in that impossible hallway, waiting. I'd wake up with the feeling that someone had just left the room, like the air hadn't settled yet. Then on the third night, I heard a knock. Not on the front door, not on the back door, but that door. 3 slow, heavy knocks. I stared at the hallway for hours. I didn't go near it, but sometime around 4 AM, I walked past it just to prove I could. The door was open, just a few inches. I shut it, locked it. Yes, there was a lock now, a small black deadbolt that hadn't been there before. I don't know how to explain that. I've lived here 5 years, I would have noticed, but there it was, and worse, it locked from the outside, like a prison cell. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I made a decision. I needed someone else to see it, to prove I wasn't insane. I called Nate, a friend I hadn't seen in months. We weren't close, but he was the kind of guy who never questioned weird shit, just rolled with it. Plus, he owed me a favour. He came by that afternoon. I walked into the hallway, heart pounding, palms sweating. I half expected the door to be gone, to be back to normal, but it was still there. I pointed at it and said, "It wasn't there before. It leads to somewhere else, and I think it's changing." Nate stared at it for a long time. Then he walked over, put his hand on the knob, and asked me what the hell I was talking about. "It's a linen closet, dude," he said. He opened it. It was full of towels. I laughed, a broken, confused, bitter laugh. Nate stared at me like I was having a breakdown. Well, maybe I was. I told him to leave. As soon as he walked out, I turned back towards the door. It was closed again. I opened it, and the hallway was back. And this time, I swear I heard footsteps running away from me down the corridor, echoing into darkness. From that point on, the house started fighting me. Doors I closed would open again, lights would flicker in rooms I wasn't in. I'd find water running in the guest bathroom, a tap I never touched. My digital clock started showing wrong times, minutes ahead or behind. The hallway door would be locked one minute, then wide open the next. And one night, I found myself standing in it. Let me be clear, I wasn't sleepwalking. I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom when I saw movement in the mirror, just a flicker. I turned, nothing there. I walked out into the hall and the door was open. But instead of a hallway, I saw my bedroom, lights on, slightly tilted angle, and someone standing inside, facing away from me, brushing their teeth, wearing my clothes. I whispered, "Hello?" They stopped, turned slowly, and they had my face, but the skin was too tight, the eyes too wide, the smile stretching just a little bit too far. They stepped towards the door and I slammed it shut. When I opened it again, there was only the hallway. That was a week ago. Since then, I've started hearing things on the wrong side of the walls. My phone rings but no one's there. My voice assistants turn on randomly, playing music I've never heard. Deep, droning chants with lyrics I can't translate. Sometimes I open the fridge and all the food is different. Not rotten, just foreign. Labels in no known language. The mirror versions of me, they're getting closer. Last night, I woke up in bed, door wide open, and I could hear someone breathing in sync with me. I didn't check, I just lay there, heart racing, pretending to be asleep, because I think the version of me on the other side is trying to take my place, and I don't know if I'll notice when it happens. The next time I opened the door, there was no hallway, there was a room. It looked like my living room, same furniture, same rug, even the same coffee mug I left half finished 2 days ago. But it was mirrored, reversed. The couch on the wrong side, my TV turned off, screen completely black but humming quietly. I stepped in, no sound, no hum of the refrigerator, no house settling creaks, only my own breath and something else, something behind me, delayed, like an echo that wasn't an echo. I turned, nothing, but when I looked back, the mug was now on the other side of the table. I left immediately. I didn't sleep. I stayed awake until the sun rose and I still felt like it didn't get brighter, like the shadows in my house were longer than they used to be. I opened the hallway door the next morning and found my childhood bedroom on the other side, everything exactly as I remembered it. Wallpapers, toys, even the smell. My heart was in my throat. I hadn't been there in 20 years. That house had been bulldozed. I closed the door, waited, and opened it again. It was my high school math class, empty, except for someone sitting in the third row, staring at the wall. They had my haircut from 2009. I'm not sure when time started to break, but I started catching glimpses of myself doing things I hadn't done yet. Drinking a soda I hadn't bought, bleeding from a cut I didn't have. I'd blink and it would be gone, but I'd feel the after image, like deja vu turned inside out. Eventually, I did what every horror movie protagonist does when they're completely broken. I tried to destroy the door. I took a hammer and a crowbar and went to town on the frame. I screamed, I cried. I split the wood, tore the hinges out and ripped the door clean off. I thought it was over. I thought it was done. Until I turned around and found the door still standing, upright, unsupported, floating slightly off the ground, open, with my bedroom on the other side and me sleeping. I haven't slept since. because I don't know if I'm the original anymore. I wake up in different clothes, the layout of the kitchen is sometimes flipped. Sometimes the facet knobs are labelled in different languages. Last night I looked in the mirror and the reflection blinked before I did. I think the house is choosing. I think the versions of me inside that hallway are trying to outlive me. I don't know how many of us are there now, but one of them is always watching from behind the next door, and I think the house is letting them in. I don't leave the house anymore. I tried, once, packed my bag, locked the front door, drove for hours. It didn't matter. Every turn felt wrong. GPS glitched, roads looped, signs blurred. Eventually, I found myself pulling into my driveway again. Engine spluttering, same tank of gas, same clouded sky above. I hadn't moved at all. I started filming the door, setting up motion sensors, leaving breadcrumbs. I thought maybe I could prove something, capture whatever was happening, but the footage never saves. My laptop blue screens, my phone shows an empty hallway, and worst of all, one night I watched the live feed and saw myself standing in front of the door, staring directly into the camera, except I wasn't there. I've stopped trying to fight it. The door wants to stay open now. It never closes completely anymore. Sometimes I walk past and see something on the other side. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's people I've never seen. And one time, I swear I saw a version of myself watching YouTube, narrating a horror story with my voice, but the words were wrong, off, like they were being spoken by someone who had only learned how to be me. This morning, the door was gone again, just blank wall. I thought maybe it had finally ended, maybe the nightmare had burned itself out. I felt relief for the first time in months, until I went into the kitchen and saw it. Another door. Different style, darker wood, taller, and in a spot where there had never been a door before. It had a brass handle, no lock, no markings, and something was knocking on the other side. I'm writing this in case I forget again, because sometimes I do. I black out, lose hours. I find blood under my fingernails or old clothes in the trash that don't fit quite right. If this is still me, if I'm still the original, please remember this. If you ever wake up in your home and the hallway seems a little too long, don't open the door. It's not yours anymore.